I know policy relating to port cranes is something that you've been covering lately. What is the policy from Trump? It seems to be disincentives for buying the cranes, but how are ports reacting to this and what is the current policy?
I guess the policy, yeah, is to try to deter ports and terminal operators from buying the cranes, and they're doing that by putting tariffs on them. So we had a 25% tariff on the cranes that was instituted last year under President Biden. And then more recently, this year, only a couple of months ago, the administration put a further 100% tariff on the Chinese made cranes, which basically made them unaffordable for everybody. That 100% tariff was paused as part of the trade truce between the US and China that was announced a few weeks ago. And so at that, when that pause happened, it actually made me question how serious the administration was about deterring ports from buying the cranes. But from talking to people in the industry, what they told me is that because it takes about more than 2 years from ordering the cranes to delivering the cranes, the 1 year pause in effect was kind of meaningless. And so what I'm hearing from people in the port industry and also in the ship to shore crane manufacturing industry is that basically America has stopped buying Chinese ship to shore cranes. Some ports and terminal operators are looking to these other companies outside of China to supply the cranes. Those cranes are a little more expensive, and also they just don't have the capacity to serve the US market. And so, what we're actually starting to see now, which I'm finding really interesting, is that ports are looking at extending the life of the existing cranes that they have. That might be upgrading the technology systems, it might be raising the height of the cranes, or even extending the booms. But basically, I think a lot of ports are adopting a kind of a wait and see approach before they put in fresh orders. And perhaps they're hoping that, if they can either this administration changes its policy or they can outlast this administration, that under the next administration, they might be able to go back to buying from China.
I mean, just for listeners, so ZPMC is the big Chinese manufacturer of cranes. I went to their offices years ago, actually. I'm not sure how many people have ever got in previously. It wasn't a great story that came out. They didn't tell me anything, but they're a massive manufacturer and they do the biggest cranes. I mean, they've got a 2 year waiting list for a crane to be delivered anyway. Are there actually alternatives? And I guess going back to my original point, is this policy about trying to get cranes built in the US, trying to get them from bought from somewhere else, and is it a bargaining chip on trade, or is this about security? Like my initial point is this about security, or is it something else?
I think there are people, or there have been people in both administrations who believe that it is a security issue. There are concerns in the security establishment that the cranes can be used to spy on the US, or that if there were to be a war, that the you know Chinese could like shut US ports down. I think when you talk to a lot of the ports themselves and the terminal operators, they're quite skeptical about that. But if you want to at least give the US security officials some leeway, they're the ones at the end of the day who are responsible for this country's national security. There are these other companies. There's Liebherr that makes its cranes in Ireland. There's Pacico that makes its cranes in Japan. And there is a push, yes, that, from the conversations I've been having with sources, there is a push to restart ship to shore crane manufacturing in the United States. But it's going to take many, many years to do that. And from the conversations I've had, it seems obvious that an American made ship to shore crane is going to cost more than a European or an Asian made ship to shore crane.